Good. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome everyone, our staff, the council, and the visitors to the gallery, and to our regular council session of Wednesday, June 28, 2023. Call the meeting to order. We acknowledge that we're in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Shall you call the roll, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Mayor Scott.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Joseph is absent and has sent his regrets. Councillor Booth. Councillor Gilroy. Councillor Hotelling. Councillor Redmond. Councillor McCormick. Councillor Porter. And Councillor Goodwin as well has sent her regrets.
Thank you, Shelley. That brings us down to approval of the agenda. So just before we do that, I would like to ask Al, Mr. Cole. So we have 4 demolition orders on their agenda. Are those all proceeding today?
Your Worship, only 2 are proceeding today.
So which 2 are not?
The ones that are proceeding are 7949 Highway 321 in Rockley and 207 Main Street in Spring Hill, 111 Main Street, Spring Hill, and 88 Beaver Dam Road in Parsboro. The owners have approached us with proposals to remediate the properties. So we've agreed to adjourn those hearings to give them a chance to do the work as promised.
Great, thank you. So council has heard that. So the amended agenda would be without 2.4.3 and 2.4.4. So I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please. Moved by Councillor Gilroy, seconded by Councillor Hotelling. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 2.2, approval of the minutes. So we have 3 sets of minutes we need to approve. First one is that the minutes of the May 24, 2023 regular council meeting be approved. That's for motion, please. Moved by Councillor McCormick, second by Councillor Porter. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Second minutes will be that the minutes of the May 26, 2023 special council meeting be approved. Moved by Councillor Telling, second by Councillor Gould. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. And the last set of minutes to be approved will be the minutes of the June 21st, 2023 special council meeting to be approved. Moved by Councillor Porter, second by Councillor Redmond. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 2.3, business rising. So Mr. Hare is going to lead us through business rising, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Business arising from the council minutes is in council's package at beginning of page 22, and as is customary, it's in a couple of buckets. One is the most recent council meeting, and the other is a number of ongoing issues. So at page 22, business arising from the council meeting on May 24th. Bylaw to amend the noise bylaw has been given second reading, and all advertising has been arranged. First reading, the rezoning of Bragg lumberlands at Sutherland's Lake has been completed, and I think second reading is on the agenda this evening. Same set of circumstances for rezoning in the Victoria Hansford Road area, and first reading is complete. Second reading is on the agenda for this evening. Hastings Road Recreation Society donation from Christie Foundation has been completed. At least the notification has been completed, and we're in the process of cutting the check. The road maintenance agreement for Pier Road in Parsboro has been completed, and the appointment of Brian Wood as a building official, development official, and fire inspector for the municipality has been completed. I'm going to stop there and ask if there are any questions on those items, Your Worship.
Any questions, Mr. Hare, regards to the report to this point? Seeing none, thank you. Carry on.
Thank you, Your Worship. Now on to the business arising at page 23, which are ongoing items, and participation in the 2023 spring debenture through province of Nova Scotia is complete. happy to be able to report that with our municipal advisor in the gallery. Surplus property 242 McGee Street in Spring Hill is in progress. Title search it's in progress. CGSMA dissolution is also in progress, just some loose ends there. Christie Smith Fund grant to receive and distribute $15,000 to Pugwash Farmers Market. The foundation has been advised of council's motion. Lamp Cabin Park in Spring Hill is in progress. And I know that Director Wakress and his staff have been working on it as they can. The weather has been an issue, and that Councilor McCormick has been holding them to account on the project. Is that a fair assessment, I think? Yeah.
Be nice now. Be nice.
We, number 6 is with regard to technical equipment for the technology in this room, which we all know is not necessarily complete, but certainly we're able to host virtual meetings and hybrid meetings, and we have evidence of that today with Director Cole taking part from home. Public highway signage bylaw creeps ever closer to completion, and we understand that it's on the minister's desk for signature at this point. So that's the furthest that issue has been. Sale of surplus properties, title search, and publicly offering 22 Drummond Street in Spring Hill and 12 Clark Street. 22 Drummond, I think we're to the point of being ready to advertise. And so Director Boone has that well in hand. I know that there are some issues with the title search in 12 Clark Street that have yet to be resolved. And ice rental fees and the review of those, along with the contract for the Cumberland Blues and Spring Hill Coal Miners, is in progress. Solid waste tender we awarded some time ago to Miller Waste has now been signed. There was a little bit of a holdup in getting it signed while we worked through a couple of issues with contract, but I'm pleased to report that it's been signed as awarded. And the Cumberland Business Connector Agreement, we continue to have discussions with the town of Amherst about some details in getting that signed, but that hasn't held up ensuring that the connector has the appropriate funding to continue to operate. So happy to answer any questions that council has, your worship.
Any questions, Mr. Herring? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for that. Appreciate it. That brings us down to agenda item 2.4, public hearings. So Mr. Cole, I believe we have 2 demolition order requests here. The first one is 2.4.1, demolition order for 7949 Highway 321 Rockley. Correct?
Yes, your worship. Thank you. The requested motion is that council issue a demolition order for 7949 Highway 321 in Rockley. The background for this request is that numerous complaints have previously been received regarding the buildings and the state of the property. The buildings are vacant. The property was previously cited for being unsightly, and a cleanup order was issued in September of 2022. No remediation efforts were undertaken on the property. The notice of this hearing was posted on the property on June 7th and also mailed to the address of the property owner. No communication from the owner has been received by staff. As I stated, the buildings appear to have been abandoned and in a poor state of repair. They're filled with waste and debris. And it's the determination of the administrator that the properties are dangerous, unsightly, and should be demolished. I'm happy to take any questions. Well, happy to take any questions, your worship.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cole. So the recommended motion is the council issue a demolition order for 7949 Highway 321 Rockley.
So
we were supposed to go through this?
Yeah, well, we were. Yeah. So we've had the staff summary cases ask if the administrator. Okay, good. I didn't realize.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Cole, for that. So that's the summary for council for staff. So we declared this public hearing open. Is the owner present in regards to this property? Seeing none, have we had any written submissions or calls from the owner, Mr. Cole?
No, your worship.
Any council questions for Mr. Cole in regards to this property or this request for an order for demolition? Seeing none, I'll declare the hearing closed. So the recommended motion is the council issue a demolition order for 7949 Highway 321 Rockley. Someone like to make that motion, moved by Councilor Telling, seconded by Councilor Gould. Any questions or comments in regards to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 2.4.2 demolition order for 207 Main Street. So I'll call this public a meeting to order. Mr. Cole, would you give the staff presentation on that agenda item, please?
Thank you, your worship. Again, this is for a demolition order for 207 Main Street in Spring Hill. Similar to the previous application, this building is vacant, has been previously cited as being unsightly, and a cleanup order was issued and posted on the building in December of 2021. Municipal staff actually cleaned up the property at that time. And at the current time, the property is assessed as being unsecure. The basement's starting to cave in, and the property is abandoned in a poor state of repair. And the administrators determined that the property is dangerous and unsightly and asked for a demolition order.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cole, would you know if the owner is present or has made contact in regards to either through phone calls, emails, or text?
There's been no communication from the owner of this property, your worship.
Thank you. Any questions from council in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll declare the hearing closed. The recommended motion is that council issue a demolition order for 207 Main Street, Spring Hill. Someone like to make that motion, moved by Councilor McCormick, seconded by Councilor Gilroy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Cole. That brings us down to 3 strategic priority issues. 3.1, the request for proposal for policing services for Cumberland County at Municipality of Cumberland. Mr. Harris, you're going to speak to this?
I am, your worship. Thank you very much. Obviously, this has been a bit of a journey for us, and nice to reach this milestone. So in response to a request for proposals for municipal policing services, the municipality received 3 responses. The RCMP, the Amherst Police Department, and Professor Stephen Schneider all provided responses. Professor Schneider is from works at St. Mary's University. Policing Services Options Review Committee met as part of the established protocol to review policing services established by the Department of Justice. We met on June 22nd to evaluate the responses and prepare recommendations to council regarding a police services provider. Committee agreed to disqualify the response from Professor Stephen Schneider as it wasn't a proposal for policing services per se. The committee also agreed to disqualify the proposal from the Amherst Police Department as a proposal included policing services for only the former town of Spring Hill and not the entire municipality. The RCMP proposal includes a number of options which will have to be explored, discussed, and costed. The proposal does, however, include an option to continue providing the same service with the same financial considerations as are currently in place. It's fair to say that there was general agreement at the committee that the status quo is not adequately addressing the needs of the municipality and that improving policing service will take engagement with the RCMP and the Department of Justice at the highest level. After discussion, the committee approved the following motion: that the committee recommends that council proceed with the current provider as the preferred proponent and to enter into discussions with the Department of Justice and the RCMP about the way forward leading to improvement of policing services in Cumberland County, addressing the outcomes in the narrative research public consultation report. So, your worship, the motion as is currently worded for council to consider is that council accept the recommendation of the Policing Options Review Committee and proceed with the current provider as the preferred proponent and enter into discussions with the Department of Justice and the RCMP about the way forward leading to improvement of policing services in Cumberland County, addressing the outcomes in the narrative research public consultation report, and further that council authorize the mayor and CAO to enter into discussions at the senior levels of the RCMP and the Department of Justice. Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. So you've heard the recommended motion. If someone would like to make that motion before we have a discussion, please. Moved by Councilor Gilroy, seconded by Councilor Redmond. So thoughts, comments, discussion about the issue? Seeing none, Counselor York?
Just a quick point, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the work of the citizens that offered up and donated their time for a year-long process in this and thank them for their efforts on behalf of all the citizens in Cumberland County.
Thank you, Counselor Gilroy. Any other thoughts or comments? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary nay, motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Number 4, there are no major organizational items. Number 5, organizational policy bylaw items. So we have 5.1 is first reading of request to rezone PID 25451535 Elder Shore Properties Limited in Gulf Shore. Mr. Boone, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. At this point, the staff report was part of your package. The request was a rezoning from agricultural to recreational and residential. The request does fit within policy of our municipal planning strategy. And in reviewing the application with our planning consultant and our staff, we feel it's an appropriate request. It's an area that, although the lands are currently zoned agriculture, the majority of the area is recreational residential designation along the shoreline. And this area is an area that's in high demand and high development right now. Any rezoning will still be subject to a subdivision approval, and any subdivision approval will follow the criteria in respect to requirements for on-site septic design. So from an environmental perspective, that's the only thing we really need to be aware of, is that the subdivision will follow the appropriate process. If there's any particular questions, happy to answer them, Your Worship, but at this time, it's a recommendation of staff that the rezoning goes forward. And just for information, it's a rezoning of a portion of the PID, so it's quite a large parcel. I've talked with Mr. Felderhoff and he's done some development in that area before, so aware of the process. And unless there's particular questions, Your Worship, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. So the recommended motion is the council approve first reading of an amendment to Schedule A of the land use bylaw to rezone PID 25451525 from agriculture to recreational residential, and to schedule a public hearing for the proposed amendment at a future council meeting. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councilor O'Telling, second by Councilor Ribbon. Any questions or comments for Mr. Boone in regards to the agenda item? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay. Motion is carried unanimously. 5.2, second reading, rezoning of Bragg Lumber Sutherland's Lake. Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. This application has been duly through our process. Staff report, first reading was provided previously. 1 week ago today, we held our public hearing in respect to this application. And this is in an area that, once again, is looking to make a rezoning change from rural resource to recreational residential. It's in keeping with the development in the area. It's a highly sought after area for development. We're seeing both seasonal development as well as long-term development in the area. As I mentioned during the public hearing and previous discussions on the report, Your Worship, the developments have facilitated approximately 27 lots on a private road corridor. And at this time, it meets our requirements under policy. And just as a reminder, from an environmental perspective, it will all be subject to a subdivision approval, and all those approvals will require environmental on-site septic designs. So unless there's particular questions, Your Worship, there was no presentations or written submissions at the public hearing or prior to the public hearing, and I did confirm that with the clerk.
Thank you. Thank you. So the recommended motion is that council approve second reading of an amendment to Schedule A of the land use bylaw to rezone PID 251668851 from agricultural to recreational residential. Someone like make that motion, please. Moved by Councilor Gould, second by Councilor Gilroy. Any questions or comments for Mr. Boone? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay. Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.3, second reading, rezoning Urquhart Victoria Hansford Road, PID 251668851. Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. Application again was duly through our process. Staff report, first reading. We held the public hearing 1 week ago today. This is a rezoning to go from agriculture to recreational and residential. This is a little bit different than the previous application, but in keeping with sought after development in some of our rural areas, staff and supported the rezoning. The area, although it was designated agriculture, as I made in the presentation last week at the public hearing, has not been utilized as agricultural land for quite some time. The development will see a combination of lots, larger lots, and 10 lots in total, larger lots, all fronting on the McPherson Lake, as well as 6 additional lots that will be accessed through a private road corridor. As mentioned in previous applications, the development will be subject to a subdivision approval, which includes the approval of a design for a private road. And at this point, during the public hearing, we had no public presentations or written submissions or inquiries on the application. So, Your Worship, unless there's particular questions, I will leave the presentation there.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve second reading of an amendment to Schedule A of the land use bylaw to rezone PID 251-66851 from agricultural to recreational residential. Somebody make that motion. Moved by Councilor McCormick, seconded by Councilor Hoteling. Any questions or comments for Mr. Booth? Seeing none, I'll call for question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship.
5.4 tax reduction exemption policy. Ms. Hurdle, our Director of Finance, please.
Your Worship. This is the tax exemption. Okay. Okay, we're good. So this was discussed at the,
No, so just. You may want to just declare it, step away.
Conflict. You can do it now.
Do
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
now,
Yeah, just announce. So Councilor Gilroy is declaring a conflict. He's going to remove start from his chair. Thank you, Councilor Gilroy. Okay, thank you.
so this was discussed at the COW meeting last week. The changes to this policy are dates, as well as the addition of a property purchased by Tidnish Crossroads Community Association. We do have several other Tidnish Crossroads Community Association listed on here. So those are the amendments being suggested to the policy that I would be looking for council's approval on.
Thank you. So the recommended motion is that council approve the amendments to the tax reduction exemption policy. If someone would like to make that motion, please. Moved by Councilor Gould, seconded by Councilor McCormick. Any questions or comments for Ms. Hurdle in regards to that agenda item? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 5.5 low income tax exemption policy. Back for that, Candy.
Yep.
Yeah. She's gonna retrieve them. The phone. He took advantage of the opportunities on the phone. Welcome back, Councilor Gilroy. Never miss a chance on the phone, right? Business. Ms. Hurdle, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The low income exemption policy was also on the agenda last week. Basically, the changes are to adjust the income as well as the amount of exemption by CPI of 7.5 from last year, and update dates as well. So I would be looking for council's approval on that.
Thank you. So the recommended motion is that council approve the low income tax exemption policy be unchanged, and that the income cutoff and exemption amounts be increased by the change in the consumer price index of Nova Scotia of 7.5% to $34,400 and $505 respectively. Someone like to make that motion, please. Moved by Councilor Gould, seconded by Councilor Gilroy. Any questions or comments for Ms. Hurdle? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, Ms. Hurdle. That brings us down to business issues on the agenda, number 6. So 6.1 Poverty Reduction Advisory Committee Strategic Plan. Mr. McCracken, Deputy CAO, please.
Thank you, Worship. So the Poverty Reduction Advisory Committee has created a strategic plan. You all should have seen a copy of that by now. Had opportunity to review the plan, provide input. The plan is thoughtful and well-written, contains several goal areas and 20 actions. That said, the 20 action items in the plan, there's 18 or so that identify staff in some capacity is supporting as a need for support. So some of these would require minimal staff involvement. It could be issuing a grant or supporting existing initiatives and groups, that sort of thing. However, there are several actions that could require some more significant staff time, things like developing community food pantries, community gardens, reviewing existing bylaws to support housing developments, multimedia awareness campaigns, establish a solar energy program for residents, establish youth roundtables in communities, and so on. Currently, myself, the deputy CEO, is committed to attending poverty reduction advisory committees meetings, and beyond that, there's limited staffing capacity to assist with strategic implementation. Therefore, should council approve the strategic plan, we're recommending that council consider, I guess, additional resources or I guess the limitations that staff are working with under currently. And so there's a suggested motion there that council approve in principle the plan, the Poverty Reduction Advisory Committee strategic plan, and direct staff to prepare a report with recommendations for council's consideration on the resources required for participation in the implementation of the strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. McCracken. So someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councillor Hotelling, second by Councillor Gould. So questions or comments for Mr. McCracken in regards to this agenda item? Councillor Gilroy.
Thank you, Worship. So what would be the time frame for this to come back to council for consideration?
Your worship. I mean, I guess council has an opportunity to amend the motion to provide a specific time frame, but I'm guessing by the following, our next regular council meeting, which would be in September.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Councillor Gilroy. The only thing depending what you're going to say, we are in the vacation time and times of meetings for council. So you're suggesting early fall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Yeah, my one concern was whether it would impact the work of the committee if we depend on time.
So just having ongoing conversations with CAO and Amherst, and just talking about the impact on the committee, and satisfied that there wouldn't be a major impact by whatever it takes to put this together, that it won't stop the work of the.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Mr. McCracken? See none, you've I'd ask for a call for the question. Sorry, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Mark your mind at nay. Motion carried. Not used to staff reading the motion for me. They threw me off. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. 6.2 Diversity and Inclusion Policy Framework. Mr. Harrod.
That is me. Thank you, Your Worship. At last week's committee, the whole meeting agenda item regarding cultural awareness training didn't result in an approved motion. The underlying issue, though, is an important one, and one that I believe is worthy of future policy discussion. Over the term of this council, together we've made many changes, and this is certainly a different organization than it was in October of 2020. An area that we haven't formalized, an area of change that we haven't formalized, is organizational diversity and inclusion. The suggested policy discussion related to this should happen from an informed point of view, however, referencing available resources and what other municipal units have done. So I'm seeking council level of interest and direction in exploring a diversity and inclusion policy framework. And I don't want to confuse you, Your Worship, but the suggested motion is that staff be directed to prepare a discussion paper for the future meeting of committee of the whole to support a policy discussion on diversity and inclusion.
Thank you. So you've heard a suggested motion. Someone like to make that motion, please. Moved by Councillor Gould, second by Councillor Gilroy. Any questions or comments in regards to this agenda item for Mr. Harrod? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mark your mind at nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you. 6.3 Cogwood Fun Tones, Christy Smith Foundation, Mr. McCracken.
Thank you, Your Worship. We received a request, as you know, from the committee of the whole meeting last week. from the Cobequid Fund Tones for the municipality to receive money on their behalf from the Christie Community Foundation. The municipality received correspondence that the Christie Foundation cannot donate and receive charitable donation receipt from the organization. So they are requesting municipality accept the funds and disperse them to the fund tones and then provide foundation with charitable donation receipt. The money will be used to assist the organization if they're approved by the foundation with registration fees and professional coaching sessions expenses in preparation for the Atlantic Provinces contest and convention, which has happened already in June. And there's a recommended motion in your package.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that the request by the Cobequid Fund Tones from municipality to receive up to $5,000 from the Christie Community Foundation, if approved by the foundation, and disperse those funds to the Cobequid Fund Tones to assist with the cost for registration and professional coaching session expenses be approved. Moved by Councilor McCormick, seconded by Councilor Redmond. Any questions or comments in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Mark your mind at nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 6.4 Meadow Park Recreational Group, Christie Smith Foundation. Mr. McCracken.
So a similar request was made by the Meadow Park Recreation Group from pertaining to an application to the Christie Foundation. This funding up to $15,000 will be used to assist the organization with the cost of a new play structure, basketball net, hockey nets, new benches, picnic tables, and so on. And there's a recommended motion in your package.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is the request by the Meadow Park Recreation Group for the municipality to receive up to $15,000 from the Christie Community Foundation, if approved by the foundation, and disperse those funds to the Meadow Park Recreation Group to assist with the cost for revamping of their playground be approved. Moved by Councilor Gould, seconded by Councilor Gilroy. Any questions or comments in regards to this agenda item? Seeing them, call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Mark your mind at nay. Motion is carried. 6.5, thank you, Mr. McCracken. 6.5, Spring Hill Water Meter Contract Award, Mr. Walcrest, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Your Worship. The municipality of the County of Cumberland released a request for proposal for installation of water meters in the Spring Hill Water Utility. This would be installing water meters for all customers of that infrastructure. About 1,500 meters that would be remotely read. As also part of this project supply installation, so the contractor responsible for installing these in residents' homes. We received one response from Neptune Technology Group Canada for a value of $1,024,667,660. It was found to be compliant, and we have worked with Neptune in the past on the metering programs in the communities of Pugwash and Parsboro, and we're satisfied with the work done. So we're recommending to council that the request proposal be awarded to Neptune Technology Group.
Thank you. The recommended motion is that council award RFP MCC supply and installation of water meters, Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, to Neptune Technology Group Canada Company for a value of $1,024,667.92, including non-recoverable HST. Somebody make that motion, please. Moved by Councilor McCormick, second by Councilor O'Telling. Any questions or comments for Mr. Walcrest? Councilor McCormick, please.
Thank you, Worship. I just have one. When do you expect this to be started?
Your Worship.
Mr. Walcrest.
Thank you, Your Worship. We expect to begin to roll this out to customers in the fall, and it will extend into the mid to late December, assuming all the parts and pieces can be delivered in that time frame.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. 6.6, appointment of building officials. Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a follow-up on an item that was before Committee of the Whole last week. As mentioned, we had an opportunity to contract in some additional building officials during our busy season. As I mentioned in my presentation last week, we're still down some staff. In respect to building inspection, this opportunity will allow us to do more field inspections, and that way we can process, our full-time staff will be able to process the permits and the paperwork that's required for both development and building permits within the office. And these officials will be strictly doing on-site inspections. As I mentioned in my report last week, obviously with residential inspections, there's a number of stages, inspections that are required, so it does take a lot of field work. So your worship, unless there's additional questions, this was in your package, and the information is presented at committee of the whole last week.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council appoint the following as the building official for the municipality of the county of Cumberland: Mr. Pat Boyce, Mr. Mike McKenzie, and Mr. Avery Withrow. Someone like to make that motion, please. Moved by Councilor Hotelling, second by Councilor McCormick. Any questions or comments for Mr.
Thank you, your worship. As I did at committee of the whole, I would just clarify that the appointment of these officials by way of this motion is a statutory one, and that their relationship with the municipality will actually be defined by contract. So they're not actually working for us until we sign on the dotted line. We hope to put that together the next few days, but this is about providing with the statutory authority to do their jobs. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Change your mind at nay. Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
6.7, Biggs Drive Water, Ms. Hurdle, Director of Finance.
Thank you, your worship.
You're welcome.
So this was also on the agenda last week. We are looking to get the Biggs Drive Water Association figured out. So Biggs Drive Water Association owns the water infrastructure on Biggs Drive, and the municipality manages the operations and maintenance of this water system and collects the rates from these residents. The current rates have not been enough to cover the costs, so we're looking to get appropriate rates in place to cover the cost going forward. As part of that, in discussion with the Biggs Drive residents, with the approval of council, we have an agreement to eliminate the historical deficit of $24,919,000 and set the new rates so that going forward we should be break even.
Thank you. So there are two recommended motions. The first one is that council approve an adjustment of $24,919.34 to eliminate the historical deficit at March 31, 2023 from Biggs Drive Water Association. Someone like to make that motion, please. Moved by Councilor Gould, second by Councilor Gilroy. Any questions in regards to that agenda item? Councilor Gilroy and then Councilor McCormick.
Okay, one quick one. The new rates, they are anticipated to have this thing operate on a break-even basis. There will be no build up for capital, future capital expenditures.
Sorry, your worship.
Oh, go ahead, please. Yeah, please.
There is a little bit build up for capital every year as
Okay,
well. Yes.
perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councilor Gilroy. Thank you. Thanks for that. Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, worship, but that was my question. We're
next
set to
time.
break even.
Next time you go first.
Okay.
Okay. Councilor
That's all
Gould.
right.
Okay, Councilor McCormick, you good?
I'm
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Your worship.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, your worship. Just one more follow-up. The majority of that deficit, I think, was from a building that was put up there 8-9 years ago. That never got billed out to the existing residents at that time. So there's a lot of new residents and stuff there, and there is a build-up process to have capital expenses. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call for question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Change your mind at nay. Motion is carried. The second recommended motion is that council approve the rates for 2023-2024 Biggs Drive Water at an annual flat rate of $910 and consumption rate at 0.5283 per meters cubed. It sounds like Mr. Walcrest language. Someone like that motion, please. Moved by Councilor Gould, second by Councilor Gilroy. Any questions or comments for Ms. Hurdle in regards to that agenda item? Seeing none, call for question. All those in favor say aye. Change your mind at nay. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank
Ms. Hurdle. 6.8 East Cumberland Lodge bylaw amendment. Councilor Hotelling.
Thank you, your worship. East Cumberland Lodge Board recently met and realized that their bylaws state that their annual general meeting shall be held on the third Thursday in May in each year. Unfortunately, with the March 31st year end and requiring information from the province regarding funding, the accountants have been unable to prepare the financial statements for the third Thursday in May. So we would like to change our bylaws to have the annual general meeting of the corporation be held within 3 months of receiving the financial statements from the accountants, just to work better for everyone involved. So the recommended motion is that council approve East Cumberland Lodge's bylaw amendment regarding the date of the annual general meeting.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Telling, seconded by Councillor Redmond. Any questions or comments regarding the agenda item? Seeing none, call for question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 6.9 Wallace request for area rate information. Mr. Herrick.
Thank you, your worship. Attached is a request received through Councillor Redmond from the Wallace Area Community Center Society. Have the municipality assess feasibility of using a special area levy where each property owner contributes an amount towards the operational expenses of our community center. In quotes, specifically, the request is that we explore a levy for Pole District 4-1 only. We began to explore this conversation, have this conversation at the initial stage. It seemed like a pretty easy and reasonable request to fulfill. However, what we've discovered in doing some of the initial preparatory work is that it's extremely complex in the back office. And I think probably to explain that best, I'll just leave that to Councillor Hurdle, perhaps explain some of the challenges, and then we can. Did I saw you? See, I'm mixed up. So Director Hurdle.
He meant to say CAO Hurdle.
CEO Hurdle.
Wicked. Wicked. This Hurdle, please.
And then we can return to the conversation.
Thank you, your worship. Yeah, so in preliminarily looking at this request, we started kind of digging into the process. I anticipated it was going to be fairly sizable, but as I started asking questions, the workload would be quite a bit. The first step would be to get the planning department to pull the electoral boundaries. In pulling that, some of the land boundaries overlap 2 different electoral boundaries. So we would have to dig into those individually and figure out how we were going to assess those, whether they would be assessed in 4-1 or 4-2 or wherever they cross over. In addition, once that's done, she can pull a spreadsheet basically that we would compare to our assessment spreadsheet and have to match up that. And then SAP would kind of have to do their work to get it mapped in our system. We anticipate based on current workflows right now, it would be although possible, virtually impossible with the current staffing levels we have. Our resources are pretty tight with all the projects we have on the go right now. The other option that I did present in the package that I don't know if this is an option would be to assess it based on the districts, the full district for community halls versus the electoral boundaries, because we already have that mapped in our system. So the work would be minimal to get that established. So if there's any questions about that, that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you. So we recommend the
Yeah, so if I could, I suggested motion. Go ahead. Read that.
Yeah. So if it's okay, we have a suggested motion that Mr. Harrod will read, and then we can have some more debate discussion about what it means. I know Councilor Redmond's really interested in this, so if we at least consider the option for this motion. So go ahead, please.
The council directs staff to prepare the information in response to the request, but should there be a request for similar information for another polling district, the council will provide the necessary resources to complete a full analysis of all polling districts in the municipality. Our concern is that doing it on a piecemeal basis will be an undue hardship on the resources of the department. It'll take weeks, if not months to complete. So we'd like to summarize, we can fulfill the request for the one polling district, but should we get another, we want to stop and do the whole thing. So that's your motion.
Okay, someone like to make that motion? Okay, moved by Councillor Redmond, seconded by Councillor Hoteling. Okay, questions, comments? Councillor Redmond, please.
I can understand that this is difficult. We're not looking at getting this in place until tax time next year because it's too late to put a levy on a tax right now.
Yep.
I think doing it as a whole district where you only have one community hall coming forward now would be difficult. And the constituents in that area are asking for the information. So I feel we should try everything in our power to get the information for them. That aside, I think if we looked at it county-wide and did each district and did the 1 cent, and that 1 cent went directly to community halls throughout the county in that district. Like mine, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 community halls in my district. So then it would be divided up. That 1 cent collected in District 4 would be divided up into between those 6 community halls. That's not the ideal way, but if that's
Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Right, back on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure I understand what you said. I'm gonna call you Director Redmond. Councilor Redmond.
only whatever you want.
Just want to make sure I understand what you said. One of the options that Amy had suggested in her remarks there was a district by district information, and I think we can safely say that that's easy for us to generate that information because it exists. And so that's what you're suggesting. Is that correct? That we
Well, yeah,
forward,
because-
that we explore that at
Yeah.
tax time? Is that it?
Yeah, either that or we look at District 4-1 as a pilot project for doing this throughout the whole county. And I do realize it is a little bit, but not a little, it's work involved in getting it, but we're not going to know if it's going to work even as a pilot project if we don't take that first step.
Yeah.
If that fails, then maybe we should look at doing it through the whole county.
So the motion,
Does that?
the motion that you made was in response to the request that we received, that we would do that, correct, Amy? So your request was for that specific area, for that specific
Polling district.
community center, for that specific polling center.
Yeah.
So what's being said is the motion reflects that, yes, we'll do that.
Mhm.
But the second part of that is if we do that and then some other district comes forward next month with another request, the same thing, we put a halt to it and say, we're going to get the staff in place to do an assessment of the whole municipality. So we're not coming one every month and trying to get these done. We don't have the staff to do them every month. So do yours. And if there's a second request, council is proving that if there's a second request comes from somewhere, we'll halt and we'll do the whole municipality. Is that, but we'll have to get the staff to do it. We don't have the staff to do that currently. Am I right?
Well, you don't have the
Just-
staff to do it, I don't think, in a short period of time. But if we're looking for this information prior to tax time next year, they have almost a year to do it.
But the information you're requesting is what your motion says.
That wasn't my motion, somebody else wrote it, but that's
Well,
all right.
motion
I
you
just
made-
want to get
motion
it
you
on the
made.
floor. I
I
just
know,
want, yeah.
but the answer to your request is yes, we'll do that. And the only request from staff is that if we do that, but if it looks like it becomes a bigger picture, it's going to require some additional help here to get this done. I think that's what's being said. All right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So yes, to you and the rest of us, stand by.
Well, I think it's important because I know like every community hall, because of COVID, is really struggling and trying to keep their doors open.
Yep.
And when we live in a rural area away from a major center like Spring Hill or
Yep.
Parsboro or Amherst, we rely on these community centers to bring people together. And we don't have our churches anymore because churches are closing because of lack of attendance. So the community halls and our fire halls are really the hubs of our community.
No
So
question. Yeah.
anyway,
At least
We'll-
this would start the process for yours,
Mhm.
and then be able to understand if folks really want this, and if
Yeah.
there is a.
it's a nice pilot project. I think.
Yeah, for sure. Counselor George.
Thank you, Worship. Just sitting here doing some quick math on this whole thing and whatever, and trying to look at a fair path forward, because I think fundamentally it's probably a pretty good idea. It's just, is there a much easier way to do it? And we recently gave money to all of the fire departments in the county, and everybody got the same amount of money, and it was done and very well received and whatever. So, like, can this not be part of the budget process for next year and say, okay, if 1 cent equates to 285,000 or whatever the number is on the tax rate, when you do the math, and we have 25 or 23 or 26 community halls, divide that number equally among each and every one of them, and do it that way. Would that not be a much more expedient way to do this than start to tie staff up and wrangle tangle everything all around the countryside?
It definitely would be. We're assuming that taxpayers would go for that. Because in this case, they're gonna ask the folks if they want to do this, right? Counselor Revin? They're gonna be asked. Your organization is asking us,
You're not going out door to door and asking. It'll be advertised that that's what they're doing.
but I think I understood from that meeting we were at that they're gonna go to the community and ask them that's what they want, correct? They're not just.
If they come to a community hall meeting, which
Right.
they haven't
Yep.
even been attending.
But they're gonna offer that to the community versus us doing it through the tax or through the budget process, But anyway, the motion's on the floor. If you want to, any more questions or comments about that? If you want to amend it, it's your choice. Any other questions or comments? None? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aren't minded nay? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Councilor Evans, for that. That brings us to 6.10, July 2023 meetings of council. So it's an issue I brought forward, folks, we consider committee of the whole. So give me some thought. There's a couple of things here. So we're in the summer months. We have 2 meetings, the committee of the whole, and we have the regular council meeting in July. We do not meet traditionally by any meetings at all in the month of August. We've talked many times here about the challenges for people building homes. As we hear, Mr. Boone will talk about and about the request for subdivisions and about the request for rezoning, the first and second readings and public hearings requires a lot of time. So we're in the summer months, but people still continue to do their work and want to do their work. And I think we need to be able to address that. So the reason I brought that forward was my suggestion was that we cancel those 2 specific dates for July. And I'll read what the recommended motion is, and then we have discussion about it, that the scheduled committee of the whole and regular council meeting for July 2023 be canceled, and that meetings of council in July be held on an as needed basis with the provision that staff, council, and the public receive 1 week advance notice of the meeting. So that's my motion I'd suggest. Someone like to make it, please? Moved by Councilor McCormick, second by Councilor Porter. Questions, comments? I think, folks, it was going to offer the opportunity for people who want the service from us, be able to access it and not just depend on us on those 2 specific dates for the whole months of July and August. So something comes to the department in the last few weeks, there's a good chance it's not going to be heard till September, October, maybe. And we've all talked here in this room about trying to address that issue with developers and builders and all that. And I think this won't fix it, but it'll help. If we see a lot of work come in and we need to call a special meeting, into the whole or a regular council meeting. And I'd even go so far as say it's not in the motion, but I'd even go as far as say that may even happen in the month of August. Just because we haven't met for a month of August, it doesn't mean we can't. And if and I'll say this, council, if there's some councils don't feel comfortable coming, you don't have to attend. This is a meeting based on quorum. And if it's holding back the business of people in this county, I really think we need to rethink our position. Just because we always have done it a certain way doesn't mean we always have to do it. Anyway, that's just my thought. So questions or comments? It's been moved and seconded. Councilor Gould, then Councilor Bennett.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment that people out there might be able to understand that if we're away and we plan a vacation, that there is the option for us to get on online through this Zoom process. So
Absolutely.
so certainly it should be helpless to make a quorum at any point in time in the summertime.
Thank you. Councilor Bennett.
Where this is in our bylaw and policy, do we have to amend our bylaw and policy? Because it specifically states what days we can have meetings and what days we don't. This is only giving notice for this July, but if we're moving forward on this, should this not be something that is changed in our bylaws and policies?
So to her, yep, thank you. So it's not in bylaw, it is in policy, the Proceedings Council policy, I think it's called. It sets out when council meets and that it doesn't, there are no regularly scheduled meetings in August, but it also sets out the process for scheduling special meetings and the process for canceling regularly scheduled meetings. And so by resolution, council can do that. So certainly authorized by the policy to do this, to cancel a meeting in July. And you're also authorized by the policy to schedule special meetings as required with appropriate notice. So it doesn't mean that in the fullness of time, we shouldn't have a policy discussion about what's most appropriate. Maybe in the fall, have a discussion about that, but you are authorized under the policy to make these changes that we're talking about.
Policy, except there would be no meetings in August.
It says no regularly scheduled meetings.
Doesn't mean we can't call special meetings.
Correct.
We could call
Yep.
special meetings at any time, really with proper notice and proper advance notice for you and for the public. So. Yeah, I'm not suggesting we're gonna call meetings here every week, folks. I'm just trying to think of ways to be a little more flexible, to assist the people that we hear from on a regular basis. We talk about it here in this room, so. Anyway, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, folks. That brings us down to number 7, information items. So we have a few that were added, and maybe an additional one may be coming. 7.1, council recognition. 7.11, Councillor Gould, District 1, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to take this opportunity to congratulate all grads in Cumberland County, but I'm going to stay specific to District 1 area, which they would all attend Amherst High School. I'm very excited to be participating tomorrow evening at Amherst High to recognize 131 graduates go across the stage, and just like to congratulate them and wish them all the best in their future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gould. 7.1.2, Councillor O'Telling, District 3.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to recognize Scott Odekirk, who is a member of the band Derailed, who was responsible for organizing a fundraising event in Pugwash last weekend to assist those people affected by the wildfires in Nova Scotia. It was very well attended. There was a day full of music and barbecue, and we were able to match our funds twice, so 3 times the amount raised, and the mayor was even there, so pretty exciting. So we ended up just with about over $10,000 in fundraising, thanks to Scott Odekirk. So I thank him very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Telling. It was a terrific effort on behalf of many. Thank you. 7.1.3, Councillor Joseph was going to do this, but I believe Councillor McCormick, you're going to speak to this.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Joseph and myself would like to congratulate the class of SHS for 2023. We wish you continued success and happiness in all that you do. We know how hard you have worked throughout your time at SHS. We wish the success keeps following you in everything that you do. Dream new dreams, embrace on who you are, and embrace life with passion, and keep reaching for the stars. So best of luck on your new adventures. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor McCormick. That's terrific this time of year for everyone, as we're going to see tonight and tomorrow night. Councillor Porter, 7.1.4, Councillor Porter, District 7, please.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to recognize the graduating class of River District High. Wish them all the best in the second phase of their life moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's great. Councillor Redmond.
Yeah, I would like to recognize the staff and employees and volunteers of Sunset Residential Center. We had our annual general meeting today, and we are just blown away at the work that these individuals are doing with our residents, and I think they deserve a big accommodation for all they do. I know it's a job, but they look at it at more than a job. they do go above and beyond for these people. And I'd also like to congratulate Jen Hoteling as being recognized as chair again this year.
Great. Well deserved. Thank you, Councilor Redmond. Let's do that. I want to recognize the gentleman that his name is Harold Bryan. So Harold Bryan just turned 91 years old the last few days. Mr. Bryan is the last surviving member of the Spring Hill Bump of 1958. So, lots of stories in Cumberland and coal mining, and Mr. Bryan was trapped underground for several days. He is the last surviving member. I had an opportunity this past week to visit Mr. Bryan in New Brunswick and to speak to him and talk about some of the stories of the Spring Hill Bump. And anyway, he wanted to be remembered to folks here and people in the Cumberland County. His heart is still here, still has a great memory and deserves a lot of respect for what he's been through, and has just wanted to mention him today. And I don't know if he'll ever be watching or not, but we'll make sure that he's aware of council's recognition of him. So thank you for that. And I think Mr. Harrod, you had a information item you want to share?
I do, Your Worship. Thank you. Just an information item. And I know that I've had the opportunity to speak with some members of council about this, but an issue that's becoming a problem for us at the Pugwash transfer station. So replacement of vandalized gate locks at the Pugwash transfer station is a routine part of our operations. I'm reading on behalf of Director Wallcrest. The frequency of vandalism to our locks and gates has escalated, unfortunately, in the last few weeks and months. First week of June, the Public Works team reinforced the gate. We're all familiar with the configuration down there with extra protection around a new lock. I think there was a bit of a steel box that goes around the lock. Between June 13th and 17th, someone unknown to us cut away the reinforcement and new lock with power tools. So we repaired that damage, or Public Works did, and further reinforced protection of lock. Unfortunately, and really dishearteningly so, when arriving at the site earlier this week, yesterday, the transfer station attendant discovered the entire gate had been dismantled and thrown in the ditch. And so Public Works has been tasked with reinstating the gate, and we've reported the damage to the RCMP. Gates are being vandalized to gain entry to discard materials in the transfer station outside of regular operating hours. These materials are being discarded in improper locations, and the materials not accepted at the site are being dumped. So this creates not only inconvenience, it's huge regulatory and compliance issues for us, or has the potential to be. And it appears that other folks are opportunistically using the dump when the gates are left open. So the gates open, I guess it's open season at the transfer station. Staff have reported individuals dumping material at the facility outside of operating hours when they're on site to conduct repairs. And we're looking at options, and I guess we won't say all of what they are, because unfortunately we don't want to tip our hand to the vandals, but whatever other options we can take there to A, document the vandalism, and B, try to prevent it and strengthen the gate and the controls there. Unfortunately, actions like these, consistent actions like these, and repetitive actions like these lead us to conversations that we don't want to have. We're able to provide that service in that area of the municipality, and it's worked well. But quite frankly, with changes coming to the regulations around transfer stations and pretty tight controls about what can be disposed of there, will lead us to conversations like whether we can continue to provide that service in that area of the municipality. And I know that that's a conversation that no one wants to have. So I say to the members of council, I say to the members of the public, please stop this. If you know who's doing it, please stop it. If you know who's doing it, please let us know so that we can pass that along to the authority. We won't give up. So, smarten the heck up. Your worship.
Okay, thank you. Look, thanks folks for today. I really appreciate it. Thanks to council and staff. A lot of work done here today, and it's appreciated very much. I know we tasked staff with a lot. And anyway, it's really appreciated. Motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councilor Gould.
How'd that happen?